It's time to strap in and get ready for the front stretch. Presented by Joe's Karting. Dan and Dirk are live in the studio today, ready to hear from you at 402-573-0590.
Little Kevin Presky music there.
Good morning to you, race fans, and welcome to the front stretch presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs, online at joeskarting.com. Fast-paced white-knuckle racing just crossed the river on 23rd Avenue. Get over to Joe's Karting today. Do yourself right with a little indoor kart racing. We've been doing things just a little bit different the last couple of weeks. We were doing Facebook Live videos over in the other studio while we were recording the show, the recorded shows, and we're going to continue that with, if you happen to pop onto Facebook right now and follow the front stretch, we are live with our video, and you can chime in and just have a conversation. We got a lot to talk about this morning, a lot of news, local results, some controversies to talk about, and we'd love to hear from you guys. We're going to be live in turns 1 and 4. We have James Hinchcliffe, the mayor of Hinchtown, is going to join us in turn number 2 to preview my favorite race, the Iowa Corn 300. It's my favorite IndyCar race. And then in turn number 3, we will sit down with Peter Fink to talk about the car show they have coming up this Saturday and the unique opportunity you're going to get to see some amazing cars. Great conversation with Peter earlier this week. Anyways,
good thing we're live.
Appreciate Joe's Karting for presenting the show this morning. The Slick Track should be back in action this coming Tuesday night at 9 o'clock. Tuesday the 9th. It's going to be a Slick Track all day long. Get over to Joe's Karting today and do yourself right with a little road course racing, and then you can go over there on Tuesday night. I know I'm getting a couple of guys together. We're thinking about going over there depending on the weather. Stu Snyder's been wanting to go over there with a couple of his buddies. Gunnar Pike's been wanting to go over there, so we might go over to Quaker Steak, get some dinner, and then go over to Joe's Karting and do some Slick Track racing. So feel free to join us. Hopefully you'll be able to come over there. Normal pricing, normal everything. It's a really, really fun experience. Get over to Joe's Karting today. joeskartingwithak.com for more information. All right, I wanted to talk a little bit. We were originally supposed to recap the results from Daytona last night, but Mother Nature had other plans.
Yes, the weather down there, well, since they started trying to put cars on the track, has just kind of been a mess. And last night's radar looked like it was going to be a mess for 4 or 5 hours, so they just went ahead and pulled the pin and running it this afternoon.
I believe 1 o'clock Eastern, which makes it noon our time, noon Central. If you've got your pick in, but you've decided you want to make a change, you're welcome to do that. Unfortunately, the site is locked, but you can email me your change, and I'll get those in manually. There was 5 drivers that went to the back because of 4 of them went to the back for unapproved adjustments. Alex Bowman went to the back because of damage that he received to his car during the practice sessions from Brad Keselowski.
Alex Bowman didn't receive the William Byron.
William Byron, that's right. I'm sorry. I got Bowman on my mind. But then Kyle Larson was the other car the major car that went to the back. And Dirk, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think I am. Daytona is one of the tracks that it doesn't matter if you go to the back. Within 2 or 3 laps, you can be to the front.
Well, it's usually more than 2 or 3 laps just because you've got to weed through a lot of people. But, I mean, you can be up in the middle of the pack, but you can definitely be in the top 10 by the end of the first stage.
So we are on Facebook Live. You can tune in and follow along. You can watch our beautiful faces and see how we can the behind the scenes. Unfortunately, the camera angle is not wide enough. Craig, you get no love for everything that you do, but
he gets stale donuts once in a while.
I thought about bringing him in this morning, but the budget's been a little tight lately, as he noticed with the light commercial load.
And one thing, you have to forgive us if we don't respond to something right away. I don't know how long the delay is. You know,
I'm seeing it's about a minute and a half right now, but yeah, we'll get to your guys' comments. Good morning, Tracy. And Jim said no. Anybody wondering why Jim said no? Jim was racing at I-80 Speedway on Friday night, and he just tore out the whole back end of his car. I mean, it was
Did
ugly,
he do it, or did somebody else do it?
No, well, the track did it. It was a little bit of a rough track, so feel free to comment, and we'll get to them as we can. All right, to not go too late into the show, we got to make sure and stay on time because we are absolutely terrible about doing that. I wanted to talk about the racing results around the area just a little bit. At I-80 Speedway, there was 3 big kind of convergences. It was originally scheduled to be the Don Moore Tribute Race, which was a stock car 24-lap 1,024 to win first 12 laps, 1,024 to win second 12 laps. Tribute to Don Moore, who was a racer throughout the area for a long, long time, I believe 30 or 40 years. Really cool tribute to him when they rolled that feature out. His the two cars that he drove were pacing the field and took a couple of laps, so that was really cool to see. And Don was a great guy, so it was good to be a part of that. After the Charlie Clark Memorial got rained out, after the Sport Mod feature was rolled out, the stock cars and the modifieds were attached to the Don Moore tribute race. And it was supposed to be the conclusion of the Midwest Madness Tour presented by Western Iowa Racing Results. But because of a rain out at Park Jeff, they're going to wrap up that series on July 22nd. I believe that's a Monday. That's a Monday night. So they're going to wrap up that series then. But so we had a larger field of modifieds, stock cars, because of the Don Moore and the Charlie Clark. And then we had a larger field of hobbies and sport mods and stock cars because of the Midwest Madness Tour, which, by the way, we'll talk about that in a little bit. I'd love to get your guys' thoughts on that. But so it was a packed night at I-80 Speedway. So we're going to go through a couple of those race results. Jordan Grabowski was able to pick up the makeup race win for the stock cars in the Charlie Clark Memorial race. And then some kind of controversy came down to the Charlie Clark Memorial race. The reason why I love this race is because the drivers seem to get up on the wheel and drive just a little bit harder. The extra payout, the $2,222 to win first segment, the $2,222 to win second segment, $4,444 if you can sweep them, and then you get a really nice trophy at the end of the night for winning the overall. But the first segment rolled out, great racing action. Josh Most and Anthony Roth coming down the last couple of laps were kind of really leaning on each other. I enjoyed watching it because I don't have to pay for these cars. I'm not the one sitting behind the wheel. I'm not the one that was getting my feelings hurt. Those two guys, I like them both, but they're known for being a bit of a hotheads. You knew coming down to the end of that race that there was going to be an issue. Lap traffic really caused the issue, but I think Josh Most drove a little bit hard into turn 3, trying to win the money, and washed up the track, kind of pushed Anthony Roth up the track just a little bit. When they crossed the start-finish line, Josh Most won segment number 1. Anthony Roth came home in second, and Jordan Grabowski came home in third. Keep that in mind because that's important for later on. When they came down for the pit stop, which they line up along the front stretch 2x2, they draw a white chalk line right through the middle of the front stretch. Crews line up on one side, drivers are sitting there on the other side. They blow an air horn, and the teams have 2 minutes and 22 seconds to make adjustments. There's naturally a low time between there as we're waiting for things to get organized, to get set, ready to get everything going. And unfortunately, somebody associated with Josh Most, I don't know if he was working on the crew with him or not, ran over and punched Anthony Roth in the face 2 or 3 times while Anthony was still in the car. Trent Roth comes over, pulls the guy off. They go to the ground. They're wrestling around. Fists are being thrown. Now Josh Most crew gets involved. Now Anthony Roth crew gets involved. The officials are running over. A fight broke out at a race. This has happened for years and years and years. I believe all parties involved received a nice $500 fine, and the driver that initiated, or the crew member that initiated the whole thing was forcibly told you could pack your stuff and go home. You're no longer welcome at I-80 Speedway tonight. And they were promptly seen leaving the Speedway just moments later. I don't know if they're banned for a period of time, but I know that they did get a pretty hefty fine. It was unfortunate because it was right in front of the fans, but then, on the other side of it, that's kind of the excitement of the whole thing. I mean, there's so much passion that goes into this that occasionally it boils over.
It works for hockey.
It does. So then we reset. There was 16 cars on the lead lap. Josh Most went back to 16th. Anthony Roth went back to 14th. Jordan Grabowski went back to 13th, and so on and so forth. And we went back for another 22-lap feature. Coming down to it, just as we got started, Josh Most got into some lap traffic, or got into some, not lap traffic, but got into a car as he was trying to get to the front, cut a tire down. His night was over with. Jordan Grabowski made his way to the front pretty quickly. Ryan Jenkins, who drives the 6 Modified, started close to the front, if not on the pole, and he led quite a bit of that, but Grabowski and Roth came through the field pretty quickly, and it came down to the last couple of laps. They were both catching Ryan Jenkins, who was then having an issue getting through some lap traffic, and Jenkins was able to hold on for the win, and Grabowski was able to finish second with Roth finishing third. A lot of confusion amongst the fans. That's probably the Speedway's fault and my fault as one of the announcers that I didn't communicate this enough. It's not about passing points. Typically, I-80 deals with passing points and how they rank things. It's about finishing position and the points you receive for that finishing position. Because Jordan Grabowski finished third in Stage 1 and Anthony Roth finished second in Stage 1, and then they flipped for Stage 2, they were essentially tied. And then the confusion came down to, well, what's the tiebreaker? Is it who finished best in segment 1 or who finished best in segment 2? And according to a Facebook post from I-80 Speedway a few months back promoting the race, it is who finishes best in Stage 2. Therefore, Jordan Grabowski was your overall champion in the Charlie Clark Memorial. So a lot of confusion there, a little bit of controversy with the fights. I always get a little frustrated when Josh and Anthony kind of had this thing worked out just fine. They were going back and forth, John, just a little bit. But it was the crews that boiled over and really caused the fight. And it's been my experience in the little time I've been in dirt racing that it's usually the crews that start doing this. And Marty Steinbach was involved in a fight. You've talked about it. Marty's another one of these guys that he's a really nice guy, but once that trigger gets set, he's going. And he was one that was throwing the haymakers later on in the night. But it's been my experience, and most of the times it's the crews that starts the overall fight.
Yeah, that's usually they get to jawing back and forth, and normally if there's any officials around, they're usually making sure that the drivers don't get into it, so it's kind of like behind their back, so to speak. And that's when kind of, it just all breaks loose.
Right.
There's a word we use in there that I just didn't want to say on the air, so.
Thank you.
But, the proverbial hits the fan.
Yeah, right.
And then it's pretty good free-for-all sometimes.
Some of the other racing news throughout the area. By the way, if you want to know any other results, feel free to ask on Facebook, on the Facebook Live video. Tom Preston wanted to know who won the Malvern Bank late model race at Adams County last night. That happened to be the one and only Kyle Burke. From what I noticed from Anthony Ainsley's post.
What a surprise.
Yeah, from Anthony Ainsley's post, that it was a pretty dominant win for Kyle Burke. And we'll have to I'll try to get you updated points on that series as we get later on in the show. Brady Bacon goes back-to-back at Knoxville Raceway, combines to win both nights of the Corn Belt Nationals at Knoxville, and picks up $20,000.
Did you see on Facebook Cody Ledger's save by chance?
Well, yeah, I don't know if I call it
avoidance
the video
or whatever.
Avoidance. That's I tried to share it, but I ran out of time this morning before the show started. But did he have anything to do with that, or was that just pure luck?
No. I mean, well, he had to turn left and hit the gas, but he avoided a flipping car that happened pretty much right in front of him. It was amazing that he did not get involved with that flip.
Yeah, absolutely, and what a close call that he could have absolutely torn up quite a bit of equipment there. But yeah, and that was over at Knoxville in the, I believe, the 360 class.
410s.
He was racing in the 410s or the 360s?
Yep. No, he ran both.
Good deal. He's got that new 410 in there that's doing really well for him. All right, Jack Dover won Friday night at Wagner, and Saturday night, last night at I-90 Speedway. Stan Caesar was talking to me about the results at Cameron, Missouri on Thursday night, and I want to say it was Jason. I cannot remember the name of it. The name of the driver that won. I apologize for that, but we'll try to get that to you also. Feel free to comment on the Facebook page if you guys want to know. Hey, look at that. Let's see. Stan, I know you're on the Facebook Live video. Remind me who won. Oh, Jake Martins won the race at Cameron, Missouri on Friday. US 36 Raceway. So good job there with that. And Tyler Drucke won the Sprint Series in Nebraska feature earlier in the week on Monday. Great racing last night at Eagle Raceway. Kid Perfect, somebody I'm kind of starting to root for just a little bit. Jeff Ware in the hobby stock class has won all 8 features in 2019. We'll see if he can keep that streak going this coming Saturday night at Eagle Raceway. Saturday night, and then Shaylee Bate also picked up the win after battling for a couple of laps with Chad Cook in the Race Saver class. Shane Hyatt won in the modifieds, and man, I'm drawing a blank on the Sport Compacts. It was a 4-car battle for the last 5 or 6 laps, and it was Devin Bruce in the D52, the Tide Ride, picked up the win. Sport Modifieds was Matt Andrews. So, hey, there you go. I remembered all of them off the top of my head. Stan might be proud of me. All right, let's see. We got to get to a break and get over to turn number 2. James Hinchcliffe, mayor of Hinchtown, will join us in turn number 2. Peter Fink will join us from Certified Transmission to talk about their car show coming up in this coming Saturday on July 13th. It's a car show you're definitely going to want to be a part of, benefiting a great organization.
Yep. Proceeds going to the Nebraska Humane Society.
Listen to that coming up in turn number 3. And then we'll be back live, and we will continue to be live on Facebook throughout the entire show. But we'll be back live in turn number 4 to preview today's race at Daytona. We'll kind of talk about some of the results from last year, also some of the results from Kentucky. We're going to take a break. We'll be back on the front stretch.
Hey, look at that. You're sitting on your couch playing Halo, Madden, or NASCAR while your friends are at Joe's Karting. Each lap is an adrenaline-filled, heart-pumping, white-knuckle experience that you can only get at the Metro's largest indoor karting track. Eco-friendly Honda engines rip you around the professionally designed road course at breakneck speeds. Can you reach the 14-second lap bracket? There's only one way to find out. Put the controller down and get to Joe's Karting, 23rd Avenue in Council Bluffs next to Quaker Steak and Lube.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things. Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Quaker Steak and Lube is the official watering hole of the front stretch and the best place to catch all the NASCAR action. Open at 11 a.m. with delivery available.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Located on Mid-America Drive in Council Bluffs.
We're hooked up in turn 2 and still showing the green flag on the front stretch.
Welcome back to the front stretch, rolling into turn number 2, and it's time to sit down and have a conversation with a guy who's going to be at Iowa Speedway in a couple of weeks on Saturday night, July 20th, competing in the Iowa Corn 300, the IndyCar Series race. He is the driver of the number 5 Aero Schmidt Peterson Motorsports IndyCar, and that is James Hinchcliffe, self-proclaimed mayor of Hinchtown. How you doing, sir?
I'm very well. Yourself? Doing
really well. That's a long introduction. I hope it's a lot easier when you go to family events like that.
Yeah, no, luckily a lot of that stuff gets left out.
Where did the self-proclaimed mayor of Hinchtown come up? Was that kind of a thing, sitting around just having drinks with buddies, and it grew into something much bigger, or was that something from a PR firm?
Yeah, that's a combination of both. I think it came from sitting around having a couple of drinks with a PR firm. But yeah, it was, I wanted to do something a little bit different, a little bit fun, and over a case of some adult beverages. That's kind of the concept that we came up with. And honestly, at the beginning, we didn't really know what it meant or where it was going to go, but it's sort of taken off and got a bit of a life of its own. So it's been a fun thing to kind of keep going. It's been almost 13 years since we started that.
That's always kind of a fun way of getting creative juices flowing, but there is definitely a fine balance. You have too many adult beverages and things start going off the rails quickly.
Yeah, it's kind of like my bowling game.
Yeah.
The first few help out, and then the next few it really tanks.
Oh, it's a part with knowing where to throw the ball. You really got to work that buzz properly in order to have a good game.
Exactly right. It's part of the strategy of bowling.
Right. Golf is the same way.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
7 starts at Iowa Speedway. You've got 2 wins in your records. 2013 and last year, your defending race win. Haven't picked up a race win yet this year, but I feel like you're moving in the right direction. You've had some good races, and Iowa's a good place for you.
Yeah, we've honestly been knocking on the door at a bunch of events. I'd say 4 of the last 5 races, we've really been competing up there for podiums and potentially the win. But we've had some luck. We've had Yellow's fall in a bad place, taken out of Detroit. We've just had racing luck on our side. But at the end of the day, I think the number 5 Aero car has been really strong. The team's been doing a great job. Great guys been great at pit lane. We actually put this crew last this past weekend in Road America. So we're hitting everything right. We just need the brakes to sort of fall away a little bit, and hopefully we can get a win. And as you say, Iowa was a good one for us last year, and a bit different this year with the night race, and a little bit more horsepower this year at Iowa, so that'll be interesting. But, we're excited to get there and hopefully get the first one of the season out of the way.
Yeah, talking about that night race, I know Iowa Speedway was excited to move you guys back to the night race. Is that something you're excited about, or do you prefer the daytime heat slick track?
No, honestly, I've always loved the night races. I think they're really exciting. Watching an Indy car fly around Iowa Speedway at night, sparks flying under the lights, it's a pretty cool thing to see, I think, for the fans. And for us, it's always fun to get another night race on the calendar. We've got Texas, we've got St. Louis, but we've done it there before, and we've kind of gone back and forth, but I'm happy we're going back to a night race.
Yeah, it'll be exciting to see. And you guys were at one time the Iowa Corn 250, but they listened to you guys and the fans, and they've added 50 more laps. That's been a couple of years now. Is that much more harder on you guys to go that extra distance, or is it a walk in the park?
Oh, no, it's definitely not a walk in the park. I mean, Iowa is one of the most physical places we go, just because the lap is so short, the straightaways are so short, but we're cornering at incredible speed. It's still pretty high banked for us, and so the physicality of that place is quite high. And, yeah, certainly that last stint, 50 laps is about a stint, a little under a stint, and so that extra stop and that extra stint that it adds on, you really feel it at the end of the race there.
Outside of the racing world, you've done some really cool stuff. I was happy to see that you have partnered a lot with the American Red Cross to help with blood drive donations after your scary accident in Indy in 2015. That's got to be a big reason why you've partnered with American Red Cross and the blood donation drives.
Oh, for sure. That was a huge motivation for me after my accident. I needed 22 units of blood to keep me pumping before they were able to get me into the operating room and fix the problem, and it very literally saved my life. And it wasn't until that accident that I really got a sense of the need for blood and the urgency of the blood situation and the blood supply. So, at first it was just about trying to raise awareness, and then we thought, hey, we can take it a step further and actually get some donations going. And we've had a lot of success over the last couple of years, and it started with just one drive, at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway during May, and this year I think we're up to 8 tracks that have jumped on board throughout the season to host a drive. Iowa being one of them, as they did last year. So we're excited for the support from all the venues that have jumped on board to help us out, and we hope to just kind of keep growing it.
It's amazing. It's such a simple thing. I've given blood a couple of times. I've fallen off of recent years. It takes an hour out of your day, and really you don't feel that unless you're somebody that is sensitive to that kind of stuff. I've never felt any ill effects from donating blood, and it's something that I don't feel anything when giving it, but somebody who takes it, it means life or death to them.
It really is. It's saving a life. Up to 3. The way they separate the blood you donate, platelets and plasma. Sorry, you can actually affect up to 3 different people with one donation. And as you say, it's an hour of your time. You get to just kind of sit there. They usually give you some food and drink afterwards. So it's not a bad way to burn an hour, and at the same time, you're literally saving lives. It's something we're trying to encourage a lot of people to come out and do. And one of the cool things about the program since we've started it is the number of first-time donors that have come out. We've had a lot of repeat customers for sure, but a lot of people that were either hesitant or wary or, didn't really realize this was such an important cause, and we've gotten them to come out for the first time and hopefully not the last. So that's something that we're very proud of.
That's an awesome thing. You should definitely be proud of that. I'm very happy to see that you're getting behind that. Your IndyCar profile online says that you're a guitar and antique lighter collector. We all know it's cool to be a guitar collector, but I'm really interested in the antique lighter collector. I had no idea.
Yeah, it's a weird, quirky thing, man. I'm not gonna lie, but it all stems from when I was a kid. My parents loved going to these antique markets. They loved going to these places in Toronto that had all this old stuff. And when you're a young kid, it's not really fun walking around antique markets. And one day I saw this guy had this cool lighter. And up to that point in my life, lighters were, Bic lighters or maybe a Zippo if you were fancy. But it was just this kind of really unique sort of thing. I think it was from the 30s, and I just sort of, I don't know, I was really fascinated by it. And so I started burning my time at all these antique markets looking for cool old lighters, and learned that lighters used to be really cool. People used to put a lot of thought and effort into them, unlike today. So, Yeah, it was just, honestly, it started as a way to just sort of keep myself busy while mom and dad were, I don't know, furniture shopping or looking for whatever it was they were looking for. And it sort of grew into a nice little collection.
Do you still, when you go around to some of the tracks as a part of the IndyCar series, do you still go find an antique shop and try to pick up a lighter or two?
I haven't in a while. It's rare that you get a lot of downtime, time away from the track these weekends. They keep you pretty busy. But yeah, if I ever find myself in a place like that, I'll definitely keep an eye out.
I know there's a lot of antique shops in Newton, so maybe you could talk with your PR guys and see if you could schedule in an hour or two away from the track and go track some down.
Yeah, exactly. Go build in a little time for it.
Another cool thing I've seen you've been doing a lot lately, you've been an analyst for the Advanced Auto Parts IndyCar Radio Network, and you have a podcast with fellow competitor Alexander Rossi. Is broadcast something you're kind of interested in pursuing, maybe after you hang up the fire suit and steering wheel?
Yeah, certainly. I was really lucky when I was young. I got some cool opportunities to take part in some broadcasts of Champ Car when it was around and A1GP when it was around, and for someone that had formal training, it was very lucky to get those opportunities and get that experience, and I really quite enjoyed it. So for me, it's kind of a logical thing to think about when the racing night ends, but that's not on the horizon quite yet, and so we'll kind of cross that bridge when we come to it. But yeah, that's definitely something that's floating around.
Yeah, it's never too early to be working on your future, but let's not get too serious about it. We like to see you at number 5 for a while longer.
That's the plan, man. That's the plan.
Hopefully you'll see him in Victory Lane at Iowa Speedway Saturday night, July 20th for the Iowa Corn 300. James, always do appreciate your time. It's great having you on the show. Best of luck on Saturday night at Iowa Speedway for the Iowa Corn 300, and hope to talk to you soon, sir.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate having me on.
Have a good one. See ya. Get your tickets in advance for the Iowa Corn 300 Saturday night, July 20th at Iowa Speedway by going to iowaspeedway.com. That is one of my absolute favorite races of the year. I know I say that a lot, and I have different classifications. Silver Dollar Nationals is one of my favorite late model races of the year. Charlie Clark Memorial, one of my favorite modified races of the year. I love going over to Iowa Speedway for the Xfinity and the Truck Series, but easily the IndyCar Series, Iowa's my only opportunity, but it is a truly fantastic race and such a fun race to go to. I highly suggest you go over there and check out this race. If you're not over at the Silver Dollar Nationals at I-80 Speedway and you're an IndyCar fan, you like what you see at Indianapolis, these guys are going to put on a fantastic show at Iowa Speedway on Saturday night, July 20th. Once again, get your tickets in advance, iowaspeedway.com. It's going to be a little bit cooler of a night since it's a nighttime race for the Iowa Corn 300, but these guys absolutely rip around that track. Do yourself a favor, get yourself some headphones, some radios to be able to tune in to the broadcast partners, because it's going to be tough. The way these guys rip around that track, it's so hard to keep track of who's where on the track, in what position, who's a lap down, where the lap leaders, that kind of stuff. So do yourself a favor, rent the radios. You're never going to regret it. It's well worth your dollars. You'll keep up to date with everything that's going on, and that is one of my favorite races of all time, anywhere throughout any motorsports. The Iowa Corn 300 ranks right up there with the Charlie Clark Memorial, my favorite race to go to. All right, we're going to take a break. We'll be back in turn number 3 on the front stretch.
We all have that coworker that runs their mouth off at how great they are. They shot a 5 under par, 95-mile-an-hour fastball, bench press 375, brah. Wouldn't you love to shut them up by schooling them at Joe's Karting? Council Bluffs' premier indoor karting track, professionally designed so each corner is your opportunity to embarrass your coworker. Call Buddy for your next company outing at 712-256-5278. Joe's Karting, white knuckle racing just across the river on 23rd Avenue next to AMC 17.
Feather the brake and get back to the gas. Dan and Dirk are headed into turn 3 on the front stretch.
Welcome back to the front stretch. It's time for another Red Oak Fabrication interview. Get down to Red Oak, Iowa for any powder coating or painting that you need for chassis, parts, pieces, stuff around the house, anything you need done. Red Oak Fabrication can help you out. A large paint and powder booth along with the sandblasting available down there. Red Oak, Iowa, on the corner of Highway 34 and Highway 48 in Red Oak, Iowa. It's a great place to go down to. Email Jordan today, Jordan F at Red Oak Fabrication for a free estimate and more information about the services they can get you along with the powder coating and painting. They've got great metalworking booths and machines there, so CNC machines to get you any kind of yard decorations. Joining us on the phone now, the organizer for the Midwest Early Corvette Club Car Show and Museum Tour coming up this Saturday, July 13th, benefiting the Nebraska Humane Society. The one, the only, ladies and gentlemen, Peter Fink. How you doing, sir?
Hey, it's doing great.
I was thinking about doing he's found his way to victory lane once again race guys.
Man, I will tell you, I miss that. I miss that. I will tell you, I love racing. I mean, anybody that knows me, I love it, and I miss it drastically. That's unfortunately why I got to stay away from the tracks, because I want to go get a car right away. You know what I mean? So
I can only imagine. I mean, there's going to be a day where I'm going to have to step away, and I've never had the adrenaline rush of actual driving the car. I've had the adrenaline rush of dodging the car coming at me, but that's as far as it went for me. But I can only imagine how hard it is to step away from that rush of. And I'm not going to make anything better for you, by the way. Stepping out of the car, standing on that windowsill, arms up in the air, and the crowd just going crazy.
You know what? It was a fantastic time. I did enjoy it. Racing is awesome. I mean, I highly recommend people to do it. Get your kids into it. It's a wonderful sport, okay, and stuff. A lot of fun. Now, with that, it's also a lot of hard work, okay, and stuff. There is that goes along with it. And, of course, the pocketbook a little bit, too, okay, to buy pieces and parts, okay, and stuff. But, oh, my gosh, I'll tell you what, I don't know that there is a better adrenaline rush, without a doubt. So,
well, we always say if you buy your kids a race car, they won't have money for alcohol and drugs. So
there you go. That's for sure. There you go.
Real quick, before we get into the car show, some of the newer drivers or newer fans to the sport that maybe never got to see you turn laps, talk a little bit about your history, what got you into it, what racetracks did you race at, some of your bigger wins and championships.
Well, I bought a hot rod car when I was 16 years old, and it was a street car, Formula 400 Firebird, and still own it today. And it's actually in the car museum, okay, and stuff. But with that got me into it, and then started out in the early days at Sunset. And I am very proud to say from the first Pro-Am car that I had way back in the day, the fourth night ever driving, I actually won my first A feature, okay, so... of course, you did start out on the front, okay, so I only had to hold on to it, okay, to be honest about it. But regardless, there was a lot of hard chargers in there and stuff, and a lot of great guys that I got to race against for a number of years and stuff. And then kind of a little bit got outlawed at Sunset because I had a Thunderbird, and it had a Chevrolet motor in it, and they didn't like that. And then I put a Ford motor in it and a number of things, and kind of got outlawed, and so I was shifted over to Harlan and Denison, and I love those tracks. I mean, they were bigger tracks. Ended up winning a couple of Iowa Western Championship Series a couple years in a row, and then unfortunately, my oldest turned 10 years old, and they spent their weekends with Dad going to the racetrack, okay, and stuff, and I decided, well, I better hang it up and start spending more time with them instead of just the racetrack. So I got them into go-karting, and then we got them into the sport compacts as they got older, and was hoping they would move up. But you know what? It really wasn't their thing. Okay, they did okay, but they didn't enjoy it like that. Dad still enjoys it today, but unfortunately, I know my reflexes aren't the same as they were when 20, 30 years ago and stuff. So even though I think I could run in the middle of the pack, maybe the back of the pack, but, it'd be a lot of fun. But, man, I like to run up front, and I'm not capable of doing that probably anymore. So.
Well, you still are involved in the community. I know that Certified Transmission sponsors some races out of I-80 Speedway, and you help a couple of the drivers. So thank you for that. We need every one of the great sponsors, especially someone like Certified Transmission.
Thank you. No, a blast. I mean, we got a couple of good drivers out there and stuff, and love the racetracks and stuff, and so we do some sponsoring that way.
So coming up this Saturday, it's car show season, but you guys have added a little bit of a flair. First off, as a pet owner, and only a pet owner, I love the fact that you're benefiting the Nebraska Humane Society. A lot of these businesses are gonna benefit, charities here and there, but I love that you're benefiting the Humane Society.
Definitely, without a doubt. They do an awesome job. I mean, animals, it's amazing all the stories you see and the abuse that's out there and different things. And our very own Nebraska Humane Society does a fabulous job here. So we've got a fundraiser, a car show, and with the registration of the cars and or my museum that I have. It's only open to charity events for fundraisers. It's not open to the public. And anytime we do open it up, any money collected goes to different charities, in this case, the Nebraska Humane Society. So we're going to have that car show down here by the car museum, and people can go in and see some of the cars that I've owned. I'm a big advocate of the late 60s, early 70s American muscle cars and the new American muscle cars also. Without a doubt.
Do you think we're returning to the good old days of American muscle? We kind of went away from it during the 90s and a little bit late in the 80s, but it seems like it's kind of swinging back that way.
It's coming back, to a point. I mean, obviously, back in the late 60s, early 70s, that's what almost every car was, okay, and stuff. And, I mean, now it's a specialty deal, okay, and stuff. But, yeah, they've got some really great cars out there and nice performers. I mean, truthfully, you buy any Mustang, Camaro, they'll just about beat any stock, late 60, early 70 car, okay, and stuff. I mean, they just run awesome, and I mean, the mileage and handling and braking, and they drive great, okay, and stuff. So, yeah, I love seeing it, okay, and I see a lot of people really want to. Unfortunately, the price tag is a little high on them, okay, and stuff, like a lot of things this day and age, okay, but, eventually some of those cars will trickle on down and into the younger generation also.
Well, all that technology now that you've got, like you mentioned, like gas mileage, and to me, the biggest thing that I love about these new engines is starting them when it's 0 degrees outside. You just turn the key and vroom, You remember when we were in high school, we'd sit out there for 15 minutes some day. God, I flooded it. Now I got to wait for 10 minutes. I'm going back in the house.
I think it was longer than 15 minutes from what I remember. And then you had to get out and get the jumper cables because you wore out the battery and this and that and different things. Oh, yeah.
I had a stick.
Those were the great old days.
I had a stick. I rolled it down the street.
Yeah, there you go. I think I've done that a few times, too, because my Firebird was a 4-speed, So, yeah, okay, buddies, push.
My first truck during the really cold times, we always get that snap in January where it was sub-zero. I'd have to go put 2 heat lamps on the engine block and plug them in at like 5 o'clock in the morning, and then go back to bed, and then get up and go and get ready for school. And maybe by that time it'd be warm enough that the engine would actually turn over and go.
Oh yeah. I think there was a couple times I got up in the middle of the night and started at 2 or 3 in the morning to make sure that it would start at 6.
And now we just look out the window, we press a combination on our keys, and we hear, and you're like, all right, life is good.
Yep, that's right. That's true.
All right,
that's
so it's coming up.
Say those are the good old days.
Yeah, we do.
Emphasis on old.
So it's coming up this Saturday. Registration kicks off at 8 a.m. until 11 a.m., and the awards go at about 2:30. Rain or shine event, and you talked about some of the cars that are in your museum. So if I register my car to be in the car show, it's $20. If I don't have a car and I just want to do the tour, it's $20. So it's $20 to get in. Portion of the proceeds go to the Humane Society. But talk about some of the cars you have in your collection, because that's what I'm kind of excited about.
Well, I collect only American muscle cars, as I said. And, I mean, in there's a Boss Mustang, 1970. There's Hemi Superbird in there. There's Hemi Challenger. There's the LS6 Chevelle. There's a KR GT 500 Mustang that Alice Cooper owned. And so those are some of the early 60s. And if you get into the late model stuff, well, there's a Ford GT and then the new 2004 GT VIN number 3. Okay, there was only 2 assigned to Nebraska, and I have one of those. There's 3 factory race cars in there, 2012s, 2013s. The factory race cars are not street legal at all. They're 1,000 horsepower. They're in the museum. And there's some other Russell mods or pro touring in there. I do rotate it through different cars. I own 122 muscle cars, and unfortunately there's only about 30 of them in the museum right now, but we're working on expanding that for in the future or whatever, that we can have more cars to show off and people to enjoy and stuff. So all American muscle, no foreign cars whatsoever. Okay, I don't own one personally, and none in the collection. So
well, you say unfortunately there's only 30 American muscle cars in your collection, but that's 30 more than I have in my collection.
No, only 30 on display, 120 in the collection.
That is true. 122 to be exact. And, next year, we're going to have it, all of them, okay, or whatever. But this time it'll be just the 30 in the museum. So they're all top level, pretty rare pieces to see. It's definitely worthwhile. And it's a great fundraiser for the Humane Society, okay, and stuff. And you said a portion; it's actually all of it. We don't keep $1 of it, okay. It all goes to the charity. We never collect any of it. I mean, as far as keep any of it for anything. So.
Where can people see all the information on this? Who can they contact to set up? Can they pre-register their car, or is it just bring it on down that day of the show? What do they got to? Where can they go get that information at?
There's a couple different ways. You can check out the Midwest Early Corvette Club and probably pre-register that way. The certified transmission website would have it.
I know your certified transmission Facebook page has got it all.
Yes, it definitely does. Okay. I'm sorry. I meant the Facebook page. Actually, okay. I don't think I need to tell them I'll put it on there before Saturday. Doggone it. Forgot about that. Okay. There's too many things anymore. Okay,
oh, there is, isn't
like
there?
That,
a lot of social media.
And then obviously the day of the show. Okay. Obviously people can register that day also. So.
The Midwest Early Corvette Club presenting the car show and museum tour presented by H&H Chevrolet and Certified Transmission. Get more information on the Certified Transmission Facebook page. There was a post, June 27th is where I tracked all the information down. Great event. It helps benefit the Nebraska Humane Society, which I'm a big supporter of. So good job there, and it's always a pleasure talking to you, Pete.
Awesome. I missed the racing and hope to see a bunch of people this Saturday, so without a doubt.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate your time.
Right. Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye.
Pete.
That was, again, Peter Fink of Certified Transmission. Great organization, great operation down there. If you need any transmission work, make sure you call them. If you want to ooh and ah this coming Saturday on July 13th, head over to that event. And, again, we'll share it on the Facebook page so that way you guys can easily get a hold of it. But a great operation, a great organization, and who doesn't want to go see a museum full of cars?
Well, and that's just it. I mean, he's really turned into one of the top local philanthropists that we've got, and the fact that he's a car guy makes it so much better.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we're going to take a break. We'll be back on the front stretch.
Every race car driver has run into the same problem. It's well past normal parts store closing hours, but you need that one to finish your car. The guys who brought you White Knuckle Racing by the River bring you Joe's Karting Racing Parts and Tire Store. Open until 10 p.m. Monday to Thursday and open until 11 p.m. on Friday and Saturday. A parts store that fits your after-hours schedule, and you can turn a few laps at Joe's Karting while you're waiting for your part to get pulled from their warehouse. joeskarting.com for more information.
Quaker Steak and Lube in Council Bluffs isn't just another wing joint. It's a great place for beers, bikes, classic cars, and amazing specials. Get to the Lube each Monday for Kids Night, where Kids Lube Cruiser meals are just 99 cents with an adult entree. Each Tuesday, you can pound down all the wings you can handle for just $14.95 during all-you-can-eat wings. Wednesday is Bike Night, and Thursday is Classic Car Cruising. Follow them on Facebook at Quaker Steak and Lube Council Bluffs.
Get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Dan and Dirk are live for one last corner. Give them a call now at 402-573-0590.
Welcome back to the front stretch. Rolling into turn number 4, brought to you by Quaker Steak and Lube, the official watering hole of the front stretch. Get down to the Lube today for all the great NASCAR action. Not supposed to be on TV today, but it is, and it will be. Head over to the Brickyard. Have yourself some wings. Let's see. It is the Kentucky. Oh, it's a barbecue bourbon sauce is the sauce of the month. I had it Wednesday night at Bike Night, and I thought it was pretty good.
I bet the price of that went up with all that whiskey burning down in Kentucky the other day.
Oh, that wasn't even the good whiskey that burnt, so that's okay.
Yeah, but that's the whiskey they cook with, isn't the good whiskey.
Yeah. No, the price didn't go up. We still got several months till that kicks in, but that was a sad deal. Do they not have a sprinkler system in that building?
Well, evidently not.
And you would think that as the barrels leaked, it would put the fire out. But I'm not a.
Yeah, that's what happens in gas fires too. Once the gas starts spilling, it puts the fire out.
I guess you're right. It is alcohol, isn't it?
Yeah, flammable liquid going into fire does not put fire out, Dan. Unless you're in Red Oak, Iowa.
Hey,
maybe it does in Red Oak.
Water doesn't put out a grease fire either, so I'm trying to save face. I'm trying to save face. Leave me alone. Get over to Quaker Steak and Lube today. All the great action. Quaker Steak announced their next cornhole tournament set to kick off Tuesday, July 23rd, excuse me. No, not Tuesday, Monday, July 23rd. If you want to get involved in that, I know a couple of the fans of the show are working on getting their teams together. 2-person teams, $20, or 2-person teams and a lube tube is just $30. Lube tube is typically $15.99, so you're saving a couple of bucks there. And the 11th annual golf outing for Quaker Steak and Lube is coming up Friday, August 9th. You can get more information by messaging the Quaker Steak and Lube Facebook page. Make sure you message the Council Bluffs Facebook page, because messaging the corporate page or the individual pages is going to do you no good.
Hey, how'd the last taco meal go before the cornhole? Weren't you supposed to eat like 32 tacos or something?
Okay, so work got in the way, and I wasn't able to do it because I had to be in doing my regular job. So I have I'm not fully ready to announce it yet, but I've created a different punishment challenge for myself. And it's going to involve a organization that I am passionate about, the Alzheimer's Association. My aunt was diagnosed with Alzheimer's a few years ago. My girlfriend's grandma was diagnosed with Alzheimer's just this year. So it's something that her and I are very passionate about. So I'm going to do, I might as well just say it, but because I haven't fully decided what I'm going to do yet. But if I raise X amount of dollars, which I'm pretty sure it's going to be $2,500, then I will do the Triple Atomic Challenge at Quaker Steak and Lube, which is 6 of the Triple Atomic Wings. And then for every additional $250 that I raise past the $2,500, I'll eat another wing. So I'll just keep adding on wings to that. And if I raise $3,000 or $4,000 for Alzheimer's Association, you better believe I will do whatever I have to eat every single one of those Triple Atomic Wings. And I have to raise that money before September 22nd when the walk is.
When your mouth is burning, just take some of the sauce and dump it in there. That'll put the fire out.
Or maybe some alcohol. Maybe I'll get some whiskey. There we go. I might as well just pile it on. So anyways, more information on that to come. I really want to benefit that great organization. All right, turn number 4. We're supposed to talk about the preview today's race at Daytona.
No, we're supposed to talk about the results from today's race at Daytona, but now we got to preview it.
Well, that was in turn 1, and then we've been saying all show long it's okay. So the Coke 0400 typically ran on Saturday night after the 4th of July. Last year, Eric Jones picked up the race win. Martin Truex Jr. came home second. A.J. Allmendinger third. Casey Kane fourth. And Chris Buescher with a nice top 5 finish. You know, I go through and highlight the race results, and I highlight the Stage 1 winner, Stage 2 winner, overall race winner, and then anybody back in the pack that finished lower in the standings, but then should have typically been up in the top 10. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. won Stage 1 and Stage 2, but finished 17th. And then for all of you on Facebook Live, there's a giant chunk of highlighted down in the bottom because of, well, it's Daytona. And drivers like William Byron, Kyle Busch, Chase Elliott, Daniel Suarez, Brad Keselowski, Kurt Busch, Denny Hamlin, Joey Logano, Ryan Blaney, Jamie McMurray, Kyle Larson, Eric Almirola, Jimmy Johnson, Clint Boyer, all finished outside the top 20. Most of them finished outside the top 30 because of an accident early on. William Byron only completed 12 laps. Kyle Busch only completed 13 laps. 64 laps between the two of them. 54 laps for Chase Elliott and Daniel Suarez. 53 laps for Keselowski, Kurt Busch, Hamlin, Logano, and Blaney, all because they were involved in an early race accident. That is the reason why I don't like to take a typical top 10 finisher at Daytona or Talladega, because your race is now over with. Let's say you took Denny Hamlin, or let's say you took Joey Logano, who's on a hot streak right now. This is the time that you want to keep any Joey Logano pick you can and save it for when he has a great practice or great qualifying and is looking really strong, but you just used it at Daytona and you got 1 point on the day and you lost the top driver.
Yeah, and I mean, this race today might not be a bad pick for Logano, considering he does get to start on the pole due to owner's points. But if you looked at practice speeds, or if you got to watch any of the practice on TV, the manufacturers all went out in their clumps.
Mm-hmm.
All the Toyota guys went out, they ran their laps together. All the Ford guys ran their laps together. All the Chevy guys ran their laps together. So the practice speeds were, you know, some of the speeds were kind of stupid. They actually got up to about 205 miles an hour, but they weren't regular racing type speeds because, you know, they were single line drafts and just, you know, it's fake news, so to speak, on what those times were.
Yeah, I agree.
So you can't really settle with that. Some of the guys made some single car runs, and you know, they were, you know, 196 miles an hour, 197 miles an hour. But the numbers in the draft were different. But the way they ran their drafts was just very misleading. I think that's probably the best way to put it. So,
Kyle Busch was fastest in practice 1, and Martin Truex Jr. was fastest in practice 2.
But in practice 1, Kyle Busch was in the back of his draft, the same as Martin Truex Jr. was in the second practice, so where they could suck up and have an extremely fast lap part of the way through the session.
Mm-hmm.
So
now Kyle Busch was in practice 1, had the best 10 consecutive lap averages, which is one of your favorite things to look at most tracks.
At most tracks, but at Daytona, it's not that big a deal because if they just decide, if everybody goes up and runs the high line, they hardly wear the tires or anything. That's why you'll see them run the low line for several laps, and then kind of the group will kind of go up high. Remember a couple of years ago for the 500, how they all ran high, and then people started running out of gas because it's a little longer around the track up there than what it is down at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that got a few people. The Xfinity race here the other day, A.J. Allmendinger was the only one that did any move in the last several laps, and he was doing that part where he'd chase somebody. They were all on the high line, and he'd get up behind somebody, and they'd get to the turn, and he'd dive to the bottom, and then he'd be able to come up in front of them going through the turn, and that's how he ended up in third place, and I think that's what NASCAR didn't like. But you'll see a lot of that again today also. You'll see those drivers suck up on somebody, then they'll pull out, come into the turn, and then drive to the bottom, and basically it's almost like a big slide job, but the other car has lost the push behind it, so he dropped back a little bit, and there's a spot for him to suck up in there. So
let us know on Facebook Live who you're picking for today's race at Daytona. Basically, what Dirk's telling you, what I'm telling you, roll the dice and let it roll. Figure out what you're going to do. You've got just as good a chance as picking the driver with rolling a set of dice as you do a random number generator, which is my girlfriend's current strategy, and she's beating me.
No, she's not.
Oh, she's not?
No,
I need
she's
to look
back in like 61st. I just happened to look yesterday.
That's right. Where are you at? Behind me. That's right.
Yeah. Very seldom happens, but right now it is a fact.
I know. Listen, it's just like Iowa versus Nebraska. I got to get it in while I can, because eventually the pendulum's going to swing the other direction, and it's going to stay in Nebraska's favor for quite some time. But while I can brag about winning on a Thursday, the Friday after Thanksgiving.
Yeah, well, that may have ended already, so the pendulum might have swung, but we'll see.
Not last year. All right, I'm sitting 26th in the points. I think that's pretty good for as far back as I was.
I think
about
I'm 39th, I think.
Yeah, 3 or 4 months ago. So, all right, get your picks in on time for the Rick Havenridge, the Pickups Contest presented by Rick Havenridge Wealth Partners, a private wealth advisory practice of Ameriprise Financial Services. Visit rickhavenridgeadvice.com for more information today. 5-week contest. We have 2 races left. Today at Daytona and Saturday night at Kentucky. Aaron Roth with a 3-point lead over Alan Gray and Maggie. Nate and Dale Smith are your top 10s. Nate Pickering and Dale Smith, top 5s. I think, what did I say in the email earlier this week in the recap? Thank you, Vanna. There is, call it 28-point difference? No, 18-point difference between 1st and 15th.
Is that the Iowa contest?
Yeah. And that is nothing when you're talking about having Daytona and a second race following it. easily sitting back in 15th and 16th. Even farther back than that, top 18 are just 20 points back.
Well, this weekend's a contest, though, doesn't it, for Iowa? I thought Daytona was the end for Iowa.
No, we should have one more race at Kentucky.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Kentucky's the last race. I did my best to make sure it didn't end on a super speedway. It looks like we got a couple of people chiming in on who they're taking for today. Chris Krug, yeah, you know the answer to where I got my shirt. Chris Krug's taking Donnie Schatz, which I'm not surprised. Chris is a little slow. Seems to think that Donnie Schatz can win any NASCAR race.
Chris, he's starting 41st, just to let you know, and there's only a 40-car field.
Right.
So
any day Donnie wants to try and... by the way, the shirts, Chris, can you chime in on the Facebook Live and let me know, are these Sunset Speedway shirts still available, or are they? Is that sale done? And by the way, speaking of shirts available, if you got your Jimmy Grasso shirt from Dirt Shirts USA, they came in.
No,
they should be here on Tuesday.
Scheduled to deliver Tuesday, correct?
Okay. And so they'll start to get delivered. I had mine just sent down to Action Signs, so I'll pick mine up from Stan. But yeah, that's a really cool deal. Stan Caesar says, I think Tony should give Donnie a shot. I'd like to see it, but there's not a lot of cars available, and it was good to see Christopher Bell has now signed another 1-year deal with Joe Gibbs Racing, although no word yet on if it will be in the Xfinity Series or the Cup Series. So that'll be interesting to see what happens. Chris Krug says the shirts are always available in multiple colors and sizes at myracepass.com. Did I do that in my best salesman voice? All right, well, we got a couple of minutes left in the show. I've got a very nice voice. Leave me alone. Kentucky last time. Again, this is going to be coming up this Saturday night on July 13th. The results this time last year, Martin Truex Jr. just whooped the field. 174 laps led, one stage 1, one stage 2, and picked up the race win. Walked away with 50 points on the day. Kevin Harvick finished second in stage 2, and Kyle Busch finished second in stage. Kevin Harvick finished second in stage 1. Kyle Busch finished second in stage 2. So Busch getting the better of the finish there. Looks like Blaney and Kyle Busch were the second largest points getter of the day, both getting 50 points on the day. Alex Bowman, involved in an accident on lap 108. He retired early, finished tail end Charlie. So that's the Kentucky race coming up. Kentucky's a little bit, you go from your super speedways, and then Kentucky's a bit another one of your 1.5 mile tracks. And I've been a very big fan of the 1.5 mile tracks with this current aero package.
Well, it's definitely helped out on the racing. The racing has gotten a lot better. I've actually been to Kentucky when I was doing trucks. They ran there. Fantastic facility. Real neat layout on the garages. If you get a chance to kind of look into the infield and see how the garages are shaped and everything, it's a pretty neat setup they did down there.
That's going to do it for us today. If you haven't done so yet, make sure you get your Nebraska and Iowa maps that we are featuring on the Facebook Live video. They are $20 each, or you could buy the set for $30 total. So that's a $10 discount. Get them on, message us on Facebook, and I'll hook up with you at one of the racetracks. That's going to do it for us today. Get out to the races and support your local action, including Ottawa Racing Event Complex is racing today. They're going to be doing their drag races today.
Yeah, it's an IHRA show, so it's supposed to be some good competition, and I know Tracy was up yesterday sitting in the stands. I didn't see him film anything from his dashboard like he does every now and then, but he did have some good-looking some runs from people. So
we'll be back next weekend. We're going to try and talk with Nick Dice about the Nebraska State Games and Spencer Piggott to preview the Iowa Corn 300. We'll be live again next Sunday to recap the results from Kentucky and do it all over again. For Dirk Houston, I'm Dan Taylor. This has been The Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting on AM 590.
Every race car driver has run into the same problem. It's well past normal parts store closing hours, but you need that one to finish your car. The guys who brought you White Knuckle Racing by the River bring you Joe's Karting Racing Parts and Tire Store. Open until 10 p.m. Monday to Thursday and open until 11 p.m. on Friday and Saturday. A parts store that fits your after-hours schedule, and you can turn a few laps at Joe's Karting while you're waiting for your part to get pulled from their warehouse. joeskarting.com for more information.
This has been the Front Stretch Radio Show, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. To contact Dan or Dirk, find them on Facebook at The Front Stretch or email them at frontstretch590@gmail.com. If you missed any part of today's show or want to hear a previous show, subscribe to the Joe's Karting YouTube page, where you can find almost every Front Stretch show.